Der bunte Reigen, der geht weiter hier auf der Gamescom-Bühne, auf der Gamescom 2019. Vorhin fette Action, jetzt fette Action auf der Straße, denn es geht um Need for Speed Heat. Ja. Just said, we have great racing action to talk about now on stage here, because we're going to talk about Need for Speed Heat. Could you both introduce yourselves?
Sure, my name's Riley Cooper, I'm the creative director.
And I'm Bryn Alban, the vehicle director.
Yeah. Need for Speed, of course, a very long-standing series. I played many of the games back then, even when they came out. I think early 90s was the first ones, yeah? And up to now. So how was the reception? Because it's not that long ago that you revealed that you're working on Need for Speed Heat. What you been hearing about the game here?
So far, the response has been very positive. People are excited by what they're seeing. They see things that remind them of some of their favorite games in the past. Hints of Underground, hints of Pro Street, and a lot of Most Wanted.
So that's actually a good thing, because if I'm playing racing games, I like to be a bit more on the arcadey side, so to speak. Of course, there's nothing wrong with tuning your car and being realistic in handling everything, but I like this fast action and great graphics and everything. And Most Wanted was actually one of the newer Most Wanted from the 2010s. One of my most played Need for Speeds. So back then, how similar is this game to it?
Well, the big innovation for us is adding to our core experience, which is street racing and modified cars at night with cops. That's our center. We've added sanctioned racing by day, and each of those are very different. But at night is where you'll really have to deal with the cops there and in our narrative. So at night you have a heat meter. It rises the more you drive. The more your heat rises, the more attention you'll get from the cops. Cops tend to whittle down your car's health, but heat also acts as a multiplier, so you're incentivized to push it as far as you can every night, and that's the piece that is most like Most Wanted.
Yeah, you talked about the cop mechanic, of course, and especially it's really interesting to know that there's a vehicle director, because there's such a special part, of course. What's your special function there? So you are deciding how the cop cars and every car is going to look like in the game, or?
Yeah, essentially. I mean, I take care of what the cars look like, what they feel like, how they sound, and the overall experience of what a Need for Speed car should be.
So is it your personal taste you can put in there, or is it more like we have so much cooperations with vehicle constructors, or wouldn't it be great if this car would look like this? How's it done?
So we obviously have a lot of manufacturers in the game, and by looking at our key art, you'll see that we've got a Polestar 1 on the cover, and that's kind of a great talking point for us to say how well we work with our manufacturers. Polestar have been fantastic with us working on the car, and we've been able to go crazy with it, so almost no limitations. So what you see there is kind of the culmination of Need for Speed from past and present, and even looking forward to the future.
Yeah, that's always a bit of a special point in the past. If you have existing vehicles in there, then maybe you can't destroy them as much, because that's also a thing with racing games. There's so much you can do with nowadays graphics and destruction, and so that you get realistic damage models on there. How far could you go here in this game?
So with this game, we've kind of tied our damage modeling to the health system that we've got in the game. So whilst you're playing at night, you'll see that your health system is going to be depleting slowly as you engage with the cop cars. So what we've done there is to try and tie it to the visuals as well. So the more you drive around, you'll see that your car is getting damaged, and it's a great way for us to show to the player that, you know, maybe you might need to think about going back to your garage right now to bank your wreck.
So we talked about different aspects of the game. The cop cars, of course, a big feature of Need for Speed. But also you talked about narrative in the game here. So there's always different kinds of games of Need for Speed. There's some that are very narrative driven, with a big overarching storyline, with big cutscenes, actors are in there. And then there are the other ones who are more focused on purely on the racing, having an open world. What's your focus exactly here?
You know, I'd say we're somewhere in the middle. You have a really clear progression as a player. You increase your rep level, that unlocks cars and parts and bigger events. By day, you earn banks so you can buy those cars and parts. So there's a natural progression of reputation level and the power of the vehicles you own. But sitting right on top of that, and you'll pass through missions on the way, and they really speak to the game, and it's more grounded than stories we've done in the past. So it's focused on what you're doing.
How are you doing the progression and upgrading in this game? Because the last Need for Speed was quite unusual with using the cards in there. Is it different now?
It is.
Yeah, our speed cards from Payback are actually gone, and what we've decided is that grounding it in the reality of the fiction of car culture is way more important to us and to our players. So what we've done this time around is kind of given the player the opportunity to play with car parts and use those as the way that you customize your car and push your car from grip to drift to off-road. And at the ends of those spectrums, the player will feel like they're in control of the car, they have more fidelity, they are deeply rooted in a realistic handling model. So you'll be able to play around with where you want your car to be.
Yeah. What's more important in designing a world for a racing game like this? Is it having a big, expansive map with long roads where you can really speed up, or is it more better to make a dense environment but really be meticulous in crafting? So to just have a smaller area, but it's very, very well crafted out, or is it beneficial to have more of a bigger world that's a bit more linear designed?
Yes.
Yes, that's a very good answer. Concise.
We do have both. I mean, our road network is much denser, so there's more kind of opportunities to pick new routes as you go. It's the most open world we've ever had, so you don't need to stay on the road. You can go off to the sides. Can be one of the techniques for avoiding cops. Or if you've built your car to drive off-road, it can be an advantageous way to drive, or the right car for an off-road event. But our world this time, we really feel strongly it's the best world we've ever built. It has the most character in different regions of the world. They feel really different. It's much easier to see than it's ever been. You can see the traffic cars, you can see the road. We've pushed dead stops, collisions that bring your car to a complete stop, farther away from the road. So that doesn't remove skill. You can still take a better or worse line around a corner, but if you make a mistake, it less frequently stops your car completely.
Okay.
The combination of these things and the great work Brandon and his team have done on handling means that you really can get into a flow when you play the game. So it's the most, it's the best world we've ever built.
Yeah, let's talk a bit about the cop cars, because it's always a very important thing. The cop cars itself always not really look like actual cop cars, I would say. They look a bit more special. What did you do this time around to make them look menacing, so to speak?
That's a very interesting question. So we've got a host of cop cars in the game, and they kind of escalate according to your heat level. So we go from Crown Victorias all the way up to Corvettes. And we've played with the day and night duality as well. So during the day, the cop cars will feel a little bit more friendly. So they're predominantly a white cop car with a few blue hints here and there. And then at night, they come alive and they're kind of the dark, menacing looking machines. They're a bit more muscular looking and they're a bit more aggressive looking as well.
But they're also in the behavior more aggressive. So
absolutely,
if it's in the dark and you're over the speed limit, then all bets are off, yeah?
Exactly that, yeah.
Is it a possibility also to play from the side from the cops for like online things or something? Because there's always nice in past games to have been able to do something like switching, and one are playing the cops, other the getaways.
That feature is not present in Heat.
So it's more like getting away from the cops.
It's more about being a street racer. Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about something storyline-wise? So,
sure.
Is there a main character, or can I create myself and then I'm the character and I'm making my own story? How's it here?
It's you have the ability to kind of project your Need for Speed self into the game. We have 12 avatars you can pick from the beginning. Very diverse group, and then once you've selected them, you can customize your character to your liking. We have licensed brands, which makes it kind of fun. A lot of Adidas shoes, for example. And then our story will feature your character as you've customized them, and your car as you've customized that in the cutscenes. Yeah, and then once you're in our story, the premise is that the Speed Hunter Showdown is in town in Palm City. That's what's brought all these street racers to town, including yourself. It's also the reason that the city has erected a police task force at night to shut street racing down. So you find that out pretty quickly, And then you meet these cops that are the head of that group that are particularly nasty. And it's not that you have anything against police. We don't have anything against police. But these particular cops and your goal of being the best street racer puts you on a collision course.
Oh, so that's where the name comes from, the heat the heat's on your...
Sure, it's a hot part of the United States, and it is the heat that you deal with at night.
Okay, it's double meaning.
It has at least two.
Short titles, double meanings, always the best. Then you save space on the on the cover up there. I want to talk a bit about the visual style here. Of course, there's always the special thing that you sometimes, if you're making a new racing game, that you go for a particular style. Now we've seen a lot of scenes at night with very strong lights, and you have the violets, you have the pinks and everything there. So do you have a certain visual code for the game, or is it just we have night, we can do lots of lights?
It's a little bit of that, that's one of the things you can do with night, but the visual style probably has a lot of influences. One is the location. It's inspired by the southeastern United States, so we take influences from Miami and Georgia and Florida at large. There's also a little bit of an 80s hint in there, so you see that in some of the color choices. We really have a kind of a modern aesthetic, which informs the new checkpoints you'll see at night and the HUD style. So there's many different ingredients. One of the big changes for us too is we have these fixed times of day. The player decides when to go to night, and kind of your car health decides when you better go back. But with those fixed times of day, we've really been able to dial in the lighting and take it to another level. So our cars look better than they have ever, I would argue, and the world.
How far along are you already with the game? Of course, you revealed it recently. Are you still very hard at work? Do you have still a lot ahead of you?
We're starting to close down production. We're nearing the end. We launch worldwide November 8th. But we're still fixing everything we can, of course.
Okay,
improving it that little bit.
Improving, going in front and with the screwdriver. And as a final question, you as a vehicle designer, of course, you shouldn't choose from all your babies you have there, but do you have a favorite car in the game where you say, that's my baby?
No, I've always been a Ferrari fan. From day one. I think I had a Ferrari F40 on my wall when I was a kid.
I think you parked over there. there I've seen.
Okay, yeah. But my favorite at the moment is the Ferrari 488 GTV. That's by far my favorite car.
In red.
In red, of course. It's got to be red.
It has to be in red. Then thank you for your time. I hope you have continued good reception here at Gamescom. And of course, I hope you have a good launch very soon in November, you said. And then we're gonna try out the game. Wir probieren es aus. Und wenn es im November draußen ist, ich hoffe, ihr habt einiges an Infos mitgenommen. Das war's von Need for Speed Heat. Vielen Dank nochmal an meinen Interviewer. Thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Und wir verabschieden uns. Tschüss.